It was interesting because I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the meeting was actually. And you're listening to it and it's just Bukele pitching El Salvador to these business leaders. You know, he's really like making it known that El Salvador is open for business and looking for investment. And, you know, when he was asked, you know, how can people help El Salvador? He was like, man, you come here and make some loans, you know, provide the infrastructure so businesses can start operating and flourish over here.
Yeah, because some of them ask him, like, I mean, they say, like, we have interest in social investment, like how our investments can have an impact in society rather than just creating jobs, which is good and everything. But Bukele explained, like, okay, maybe you can build a soccer field or a hospital or whatever, but actually that's the role of the government, you know? That's what we want to do. Instead, let's make the private sector to give loans, credit, and create an employment, and that's going to have a more meaningful impact into society in general, you know?
Than what a soccer field could do or so forth.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, that was interesting too. It was refreshing to hear a president speak like that in terms of the private sector and the public sector. And it made me aware of just how understanding he is of how important the private sector is to the growth of an economy. And as a leader, you know, as a president, you don't hear that often, right? You hear the presidents usually taking credit for this and doing that. And he was saying, look, we got our job. We got to provide the platform for you guys to be able to flourish, you know? And then also talking about removing red tape and really like, he didn't even mention it once. He mentioned it several times throughout his speech of just how like they're working to remove old laws that were there from past, past presidential regimes and so forth that have been on the books and now, you know, are outdated or just don't fit the vision that he has for this country, and that, you know, they're going to do whatever it takes in order to clear the playing field so people can now build, right?
I would like to learn those specifics, you know, what the red tapes are that he removed, so we can know and see how we can replicate in other countries. It will be interesting as a case of study, you know, of the government moving out of the way for businessmen wanting to invest here, you know.
And this is a new thing for Latin America, right? To have a president speak like that. I would imagine. I mean, in general, I think it's it's definitely in the U.S. There's a lot of rhetoric around that because I think the country was built on free market principles. But not just in El Salvador, but in Latin America in general, there's a strong, I think, collectivist undercurrent in everything, right? Where
it's a mindset. It's historical. You have had different episodes in the history of Latin America which were successful and they applied the free markets philosophy and all that. For example, in Chile, in the 80s, they brought a lot of, I think Milton Friedman, the economist, came to Chile with the Chicago University students and they applied an economic reform in Chile. And you had other cases like Panama, which is a financial hub, or used to be. Nowadays, it's like it had a lot of regulations. But yeah, this is that to have a libertarian government in the region is not common. Right now, we just have Javier Milei in Argentina, which is something radically new. And I don't quite compare it to Bukele. There are two different styles of governing, but they're probably in the same lane of economic approach. But yeah, definitely, Bukele wants to set the platform for businessmen to build here and, like he said, like have the strong and smallest possible government, so they can.
Yeah, that's another, that's very similar wording, right? We want to be. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was alluding to we want the strongest government, but the smallest government. We want the government to be really powerful in the areas that it needs to be powerful, like I guess security being one of those. But in terms of like getting out of the way for businesses to build and thrive, we want it to be the smallest. And I was like, and he used those exact words. And I was like, wow, that's refreshing, you know?
Yeah.
Now he did reference El Salvador as a tourist sector, but it was interesting because he was like, look, we don't want to just stop with tourism. We got a beautiful country. We have, you know, some of the best surf in the world. We got, volcanoes everywhere. And so our tourist sector is going to boom. It's the second fastest growing tourist,
After Qatar.
after Qatar. And, but we need more than that. We need more than that for this country really to prosper. And that was interesting. You know, he's not just stopping. His ambitions for this country just don't stop at a tourist hub.
He basically said that the long-term vision is underpinned by short-term solutions that the population here demands, you know, because maybe as it's a poor country, it's not a wealthy country, the overall citizen can think about like long-term planning, you know, so they need fast solution, and you're start building your long-term vision on time. So he basically said that he needs, El Salvador needs investment in all kinds of sectors, you know, construction, business, infrastructure, healthcare, education, and tourism is a big thing, of course, because tourism boosts services sectors and some products as well, but it falls short, you know, into...
it falls short in like, you know, keeping a nation sustainable, right?